Good evening, folks. We will start in just maybe another minute or so. We'll have people, we'll just give people a couple of minutes to get here. I'm not sure if there's a way for me to know whether you can hear me. I know Nicholas did set me up, but Elizabeth, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Okay. So we'll just give people another minute to sign in and find the link. There's definitely a convenience in doing these things online, right?
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I saw that. 2 more people. Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, folks, we'll just give it maybe 30 more seconds before we get started. Great, we have a full house. That's awesome. Okay, 7:02. Oh, there's still a few more. Wow. Okay. Sorry, I'm just seeing all these people coming in. I want to make sure that we okay, 10 more seconds. I promise. 10 more seconds. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Michelle Petrusevic. I am the Parent Talk Chair for Vancouver College this year, and I am very happy to see such a great attendance on this rainy Thursday night. Um, just to go over the agenda, how I run these events typically. So I will do just a quick intro. Elizabeth Goldstone is our speaker. We're very lucky to have her. She does have a bit of a bio on her slide, so she'll talk about all of her about her in the slides. We figured it would be a sort of more efficient use of the time. So her presentation is about 40 minutes or so. We will start with prayer and land acknowledgement. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Nicholas, our communications officer, is in the background assisting, so he and I will monitor that. So please put them in the chat as they pop up, and then we will address them in that order. There are a few questions that were submitted as well through Slido, so I will address those as well. And then we will leave a few minutes for wrap up and just and the thank yous. So I will just start with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the traditional territory of the Musqueam Nation and extend our appreciation for the opportunity to live, learn, and play on this beautiful territory. Acknowledging this territory shows recognition and respect for Indigenous people who live and have lived on this land. Recognition and respect are essential elements of establishing healthy relationship. These relationships are key to reconciliation, a process to which Vancouver College is committed to. And as all things Vancouver College, we'll also start with a prayer in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear God, we wanted to thank you for the opportunity to gather, albeit virtually, to learn about this from Elizabeth about this very important topic. We're grateful to have a supporting parent community for our boys where we can learn and support one another and learn from each other and from wonderful speakers such as Elizabeth, who are kind enough to share their knowledge. Please help us continue on this journey and give us strength and wisdom. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Blessed Edmund Rice, you're supposed to answer, pray for us. Leave Jesus in our hearts forever. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. With that, I will turn off my video and pass it on to Elizabeth. All yours, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Michelle. All right, I'm going to get my slides up here for everybody. All right, so our topic for today is going to be school refusal and building cooperative relationships. The emphasis of this presentation is going to be on school refusal, but I will also briefly touch on building cooperative relationships with your children, because as you will see, that is a very helpful tool when dealing with some initial school refusal behaviors. So I'll start with a little bit about me. I'm sure you've seen my bio in the write-up, but I will reiterate all of that information now. So I have a Master's of Science in Behavior Analysis, and I am a board-certified behavior analyst. I work in private practice. My focus areas of practice are within schools. I do parent coaching and also direct treatment. I started my career doing early intervention with children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and then have now kind of shifted my practice to be more working with school-age children, preteens, teens, and teens who are transitioning into adulthood, who are developing a variety of skills. Some of the individuals that I work with have autism spectrum disorder, some have ADHD, some have no diagnosis at all and just require some extra supports. My role at Vancouver College is that of a behavior analyst. I work at VC 1 day a week out of the Learning Center. And there I provide support for students who have some school refusal issues, among mental health issues and other challenges related to attending school. And I've been working at VC since 2022. Okay, so in today's presentation, I hope to cover the definition, symptoms, and treatment of school refusal. We will discuss how to prevent school refusal. Then we will get into how to build cooperative relationships with your children. I will provide some book recommendations and some community resources that you can access. And then we will end our time with some question time. If you have questions, please type them into the Q&A. You can type the questions into the Q&A at any time. I will respond to questions at the end of the presentation time, and we do have lots of time for questions. If you have a detailed question, please do ask it during the presentation. I will provide my email address at the end for a few different reasons, but I won't have the capacity to respond to very lengthy email inquiries, so I do encourage you to please ask lengthy questions today during the presentation. Okay, so let's get into it. What is school refusal? Well, the formal definition of school refusal is difficulties attending and or remaining at school due to emotional distress. So with attending school, that would mean that a student is coming to school regularly if they were attending school. If they were missing school completely for certain days, that would be issues with attending school. There are also children who engage in school refusal who will come to school and leave early, or they will come to school late and attend until the end of the day, or they might come to school late and leave early. So there are a variety of different ways that this behavior can present. And this is just a formal definition, though, from the research. So, some of the symptoms of school refusal can be reluctance or refusal to attend school. So, reluctance could be saying in the morning, "Oh, I just really want to stay home today. I'm tired." And mom or dad says, "No, you really need to go to school. It's really important that you go today. You don't want to get behind." "Oh, but can I just stay home today? Just this one day? I need to rest." "No, no, you need to go to school." So that's the reluctance part. So with reluctance, sometimes children will end up going to school once their parents tell them they need to go. But sometimes reluctance will lead to parents saying, "You know what? No, you can stay home today." Or, "You know what? I guess you're staying home today because I need to go to work and you're making me late." Um, Refusal to attend school would be more like, "No, I'm not going to school. I'm locking my bedroom door. I'm locking myself in the bathroom. I am not leaving this bed. No, not going to school." Being at home during school hours with parental knowledge. So that's sometimes when kids are putting up a fight with going to school, and mom or dad says, "Okay, whatever, you can just stay home. I have to log on to this meeting for work or whatnot." Emotional distress at the prospect of school. So that could be crying, it could be hiding, it could be physiological symptoms like sweating, um, it could be getting very angry. So, really, any type of emotional distress. It could even be laughing when a parent presents the demand that it's time to go to school. Some children will show anxiety by nervously laughing. So, emotional distress can look like a variety of things. The absence of severe antisocial behaviors beyond resistance to parental attempts to enforce school attendance, reasonable yet ineffective attempts by parents to enforce school attendance. So, those are all symptoms there. Some other contributing factors to school refusal could be the diagnosis of anxiety or other mood disorders. It could also be a suspected diagnosis. Most medical doctors, pediatricians will not formally diagnose anxiety themselves these days. They will say there's a suspected diagnosis until you seek out um, a diagnosis from a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Um, could be difficulty separating from parents. There are some kids who have formed some difficult attachments with their parents, in which they always need to be with or around their parents. Waiting to avoid aversive stimuli associated with school could be writing a test, could be, there's something in PE that they're doing that day, like the beep test or something like that that they're trying to avoid. It could even be a group project or a group presentation that they're trying to avoid. Or maybe this particular teacher makes them stay in at lunchtime if they haven't completed their homework and they didn't complete their homework. So it could be a variety of reasons to avoid school, which may include some type of punitive consequence. And then specific or generalized anxiety related to school. Short-term effects of school refusal. Those things include breakdowns of family and peer relationships. So, if you are constantly having to argue with your child about going to school, or you become frustrated because they are continuously avoiding school, that can cause a breakdown of your relationship. And that's just naturally something that happens, right? If someone's continuously doing something that bothers you, you're going to start to act towards them in a way that may not be pleasant. Peer relationships. This is something that I see a lot with kids who engage in school refusal, um, or kids who are sporadically attending school. First of all, peers realize they recognize their friend's not always at school. They are then going to question friend when they come to school. This can really complicate peer relationships because this puts your child on the spot and they need to find some reason why they've missed school. And it can't always be, "Oh, I was sick." There's only so many times you can say you were sick and your friends will realize there's something else going on. So that can really impact peer relationships. Also, just missing out on what's going on from day to day in the school. A lot changes each day. On a Monday, everybody's chatting about what they did on the weekend or how their football game went and all of that. And their kids are really missing out on that connection when they're not there on a Monday to talk to all of their friends about what they did and share their experiences. So it can really impact peer relationships very quickly. We also know that peer relationships are a place of support for kids in schools. So when peer relationships start to dwindle, that's when you'll see mental health effects set in if they haven't already set in. Increased family conflict. Um, Missing school can be a point of contention between, two parents. Um, Mom might be saying, "Oh, it's okay, let him stay home today," and dad might be like, "No, he needs to go to school every day." So that can be a really difficult thing for parents to navigate together. It can also be a really difficult thing if you have multiple children. "Oh, hey, why did Johnny get to stay home today, but I had to go to school? I want to stay home tomorrow." So that can become difficult as well, navigating when you have multiple children. Social withdrawal. Social withdrawal can result from some of the things I was just talking about with peer relationships. Social withdrawal can also just occur because kids they don't have as much in common with their peers anymore if they're staying home all the time. Um, Declines in academic performance. Of course, in order to do well in school, you need to be at school. And this is one thing that we talk about a lot in the Learning Center, and my role there as behavior analyst. VC is an in person school, it is not an online school. Well, the Google Classroom thing is awesome in many ways. That is not the only thing that is school. School is, coming in, participating in group discussions, collaborating with your teacher, doing written work, doing group projects, building peer relationships, accessing school supports, being a part of school teams and school clubs, and all of those wonderful things that VC has to offer. So that's a really important aspect is being able to actually physically come to school and not being there will cause declines in academic performance for sure. High emotional stress on a daily basis. This can occur, of course, over time. Co-occurring mental illness as well. So that could be developing anxiety, developing some depression that, nobody likes me anymore, kids are avoiding me, things like that. Some of the long-term effects of school refusal, reduced career opportunities. So this can come for a variety of reasons. Of course, academic performance. Um, there may be reduced opportunities to attend post-secondary school if academic performance isn't up to par. There may also be challenges if a student has become socially avoidant. In most jobs, you do need to interact with other people, um, at least minimally. And so you do need to have some social skills and be able to be social to an extent to be able to access career opportunities. So that can definitely impact a child's future for sure. Poor interpersonal relationships. Um, Attending school is so important for us to learn how interpersonal relationships work. If you think back to when you were in school, and all of those little arguments you had with your friends and like the silly things that happened, and all of the social exploring you did when you were in school, If you miss out on that, developmentally, you are so behind as an adult in terms of being able to have interpersonal relationships with other people. Also, you're an adult, so people aren't going to have patience for you to develop those skills when you get older. So I think it's really important for that interpersonal relationship piece. Um, Relationships with other people can get you a lot of places. So it's important that you can build those things with people. Um, Disrupted social, emotional, and intellectual development. So I just kind of touched on that with the social development. Of course, emotional development too. We need to go through all of the things we go through in our life to develop emotionally, and going to school is one of those things. Intellectually as well, of course. We need to learn certain academic skills and exercise our brains. We need that for our whole life. And then higher rates of lifetime mental illness. Of course, all of these things kind of just stack on top of each other, and mental illness is the result of it. All right. The duration of school refusal predicts future outcomes, with longer periods being associated with lower probability of successful school re-engagement and more distressing and detrimental consequences. So, my advice to you after working with kids engaging in various levels of school refusal is to seek help as quickly as you can when you feel like school refusal might be an issue. It does not hurt to get a professional opinion on this at any point in time. Best case scenario, the professional says, I think it's just like it's a normal kid thing. Don't worry about it. But if it's not, intervening quickly can yield very fast results. You could turn it around in a week, and there could be no future repercussions, and things could end very well. But if you wait too long, it can become really challenging and sometimes impossible to have kids return to in-person schooling or schooling in general. And I have seen this. So it is really, really important to seek out a professional opinion if you're able to. Treatment of school refusal. So there are a wide variety of treatments available for school refusal. Interventions are typically targeted at 3 different levels. The first level is with the child directly. The second level is within the school. And the third level is within the family. Intervention is likely needed at all 3 levels. That's what the research said. I think it's essential that intervention happens at all 3 levels. Because if the school is not involved in the child's reintegration plan because you've hired a private practitioner to work with your child outside of school to help with school refusal, then it's likely not going to be successful for them to be reintegrated. So the school needs to be on board, and they're going to need to, provide a professional at the school level or work with your professional. You're going to need to bring your child to school or encourage them to go to school, or, do all the things the professional is telling you need to do. And then the child's going to need support for whatever they're going through that has caused school refusal in the first place. So it's really important to kind of have that wraparound model of supports to be successful with treating school refusal. The recommended course of treatment will be determined by the cause of school refusal. How do you determine the cause? Well, you can ask your child, why aren't you going to school? You could talk to a professional to try and figure out why your child's not going to school. You could have your child talk to a professional and they could help sort out why they're not going to school. You could discuss your concerns with the school because maybe they have some more insight. So those are all ways. Of course, there are many other ways, but those are the top 3 ways that you can try and determine why your child's not going to school. I have to say, speaking with a professional, if your child is not cooperative, is really helpful. We can ask a few questions and often sort it out very quickly as to why your child is not going to school without speaking to them directly. So there are quite a few professionals that you can seek out support from with regards to the treatment of school refusal. So one person would be a psychologist. There are psychologists available through our medical services plan in BC, often with lengthy wait lists. You can access them through the child and youth mental health clinics. The closest one to BC is in Kerrisdale. There's a walk-in mental health clinic there for children and youth. You can also hire a private practicing psychologist as well to provide support. Psychologists can support you and your child and work with the school as well on a reintegration plan. Psychologists can also diagnose mental illness and other disabilities like autism spectrum disorder and ADHD, if those things might be factors. There's registered clinical counselors. Registered clinical counselors cannot diagnose mental health issues or disabilities like autism spectrum disorder, but they can definitely provide support to parents and children and support with a reintegration plan for school. It is important whenever you're seeking out a counselor that you find a registered clinical counselor. Those are people who are registered counselors and actually have a master's degree and have a certification exam written and are legally able to work in BC as counselors. A pediatrician may be able to support you. They may be able to provide a diagnosis of mental health issues, prescribe medications if your child's experiencing anxiety or symptoms of ADHD, things like that. They can also provide referrals to other professionals like psychologists and psychiatrists. Psychiatrists are able to diagnose and they're also able to prescribe medications. Psychiatrists are often involved for individuals who are dealing with pretty significant mental health issues. That would be usually the only times that they might be involved in a child's case. Behavior analysts. Behavior analysts are able to assess the child or assess the situation and figure out why school refusal is happening, and then put a plan in place to help with school reintegration. That often includes parent coaching, visits with the child directly, and then wraparound supports at the school level as well. And then, of course, school staff. They're so essential in getting kids back to school and keeping them at school for the day. Okay, preventing school refusal. So, three main pieces to look at for preventing school refusal. First one, build a strong and cooperative relationship with your child. I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. Develop your parenting skills. It is amazing that all of you are here because you are developing your parenting skills today. So thank you for coming to this. There are lots of really great resources I'll share with you at the end of the presentation, books, community resources. Of course, there's also the internet, YouTube, all of those great places. You can develop some parenting skills there as well. And then also identifying your child's why. This is really important for preventing school refusal. Why should your child attend school? It's nice to talk to them about what they'd like their future to look like. If they want to open their own or run their own company like their dad does, they're going to need to go to business school, probably at UBC. They need to go to school. They need to get good grades. They need to volunteer. They need to show leadership skills. You have to go to school to develop those things. So if you want to go to business school and you want to run your own company, then you need to go to school. So identifying your child's why can really help motivate them to attend school. Okay, so now we're going to flip into talking about building a strong and cooperative relationship with your child. This is really essential for preventing school refusal, but also for um, trying to manage initial school refusal yourself. Terminology note, it's really important. Behavior is anything that we do. So whenever I have said the word behavior so far, and whenever I say it again in the next few slides, know that a behavior is anything that we do. The word behavior often carries some negative connotations with it, like it's a bad thing. It's not. Behavior, the definition of it is anything we do. Okay, I'm blinking right now. That's a behavior. I'm twirling my hair. That's a behavior. I'm clicking my pen. That's a behavior. Okay. Some of those things were kind of like, whatever things. Some of them are annoying. Some of them are good. All behavior. Okay. Okay. Parenting skills. I'm going to get into each of these things. Warmth, behavioral control, conditional and unconditional expression of affection, and consistency. So let's talk about warmth. Warmth is really how you approach your child. Some ways that you can show warmth when you're parenting your child are setting aside time each day for uninterrupted connection. I recognize we all have extremely busy lives, but even 5 minutes of time each day, whether it's in the morning or at night or whenever, really supports building connection with your child. So, a few minutes of time each day, or however much time you have each day, to connect with your child over something that you both enjoy. It shouldn't be you telling your child they need to sit down and do a crossword puzzle with you because that's your favorite thing to do. No, pick something you both love. Eat ice cream. Watch a YouTube video that you're both interested in. Talk about something that you both love, like maybe it's gardening and what seeds are going to go buy at the gardening shop when it opens in March for the spring. Anything like that. Um, Sometimes maybe also talk about one of your child's interests. Football. The Super Bowl is coming up. Tell me about that. Who's going to be playing at the halftime show? Just have that really deep time to connect. Responsiveness to communication from your child. So with this, whenever your child communicates with you, try your best to receive it in a warm way. Again, we're all busy. We all have rough days. We're all stressed, and that's okay. But try your best when your child says to you, like, "Hey, mom, I really want to show you this. I did this art today." To be like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing, awesome," rather than like, "Oh, you need to wait a minute. I'm answering an email." Um, if possible, take the moment to really connect with your child and show them that you're interested in that interaction they're trying to initiate with you. Provide preferred attention to your child. Um, some kids really love physical touch, hugs and snuggles and things like that. And some kids really enjoy being surprised with things like, "Oh, hey, I picked up your favorite chips while I was at the grocery store today, buddy." That can be preferred attention. Okay. So try to sprinkle those things in every day because that really helps um, build that connection with your child, um, and also maybe start to heal that connection with your child if you've had a difficult go with them. Behavioral control. So we want to make sure that we balance autonomy with rules and guidelines. It is a balance of being it's like strict or too strict. So considering that, let your child be independent, let them learn, let them make mistakes in certain contexts, but also provide them with rules and guidelines as well. Tell your child what to do rather than what not to do. When people make mistakes, it's because they don't know what to do. If you just tell them like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that," and you just provide them with a reprimand, that's not going to prevent them from making the same mistake in the future. They made the mistake in the first place because they didn't know what to do. So tell them what to do. "Oh, you skipped school today. Oh, you know what? You really do need to go to school. It's important for your future." Um, like, uh, "Oh no, you broke that cup. That was a really expensive cup. Oh, you really, you need to use two hands when you take things out of the dishwasher." Just simple things like that. You do have to teach your kids things, so tell them what to do rather than telling them what not to do. Be consistent with your expectations. When your expectations are blurry for a child, they're going to take their best guess at what to do. But if you can make those expectations really clear and consistent, it'll be helpful in having them produce the types of behaviors that you're hoping for. And then provide consequences, not threats. So a threat might be like, "Oh, if you do that one more time, I'm going to take away video games for a week," but then you never actually take away video games. Or sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. So that's a threat. A consequence is something that happens consistently. Okay. All right. Conditional and unconditional expressions of affection. So, a conditional expression of affection would be when affection is provided on the condition that a child engages in a certain behavior. So, that could be things like praise. "Awesome, good job, you did it. That was so amazing." And allowance, for example. So, if your child did really good on their spelling test, you'll provide them with praise. If your child does their chores, you might give them allowance. So, um, the reward is given contingent on a certain behavior occurring. Unconditional affection is provided regardless of a child's behavior. So, let's say your child didn't do his homework on a certain day. Well, regardless of him not doing his homework, you're still going to give him some quality time that day. So you're going to give quality time regardless of any other behavior that occurs. That's unconditional. Consistency. As much as humanly possible, try to be consistent with your parenting. Consistency is what builds trust and predictability for kids. Trust is a huge thing with how much kids will, or how responsive kids will be when you're providing them with corrections and placing demands on them, which might be, "No, you do need to go to school today. You're not staying home." So try as much as possible to be consistent with your expectations, your time, your effort, your affection, all of those things. And that's what maintains behavior over time. So if we can be consistent, we'll likely see our child's behavior be consistent as well. And no, you won't always get it right. It's really important to just be open to learning when you're a parent. You might say something sometimes and be like, "Oh, I really shouldn't have said that." If needed, apologize to your child, let them know you made a mistake. They make mistakes too. But don't beat yourself up over it. Parenting's a journey. You won't always get it right. Um, reflect on what happened, think about what you could do differently next time, and move on. Okay, so I'm just going to finish up with a few recommendations here and then we can get into answering some of your questions. So feel free to start dropping questions in that Q&A box if you have them. So book recommendations. These slides will be sent to you after the presentation as well, so don't feel like you need to jot down all of these recommendations. Here are a few books that I recommend seeking out. One of them is The Power of Positive Parenting by G. Latham. There's also Optimistic Parenting by Durand, and The Kasdan Method for Parenting the Defiant Child by Kasdan as well. All of these are available on Amazon. I did check, and they're between $20 and $40-ish each. So not super costly. The Power of Positive Parenting is more of a textbook style workbook type presentation, whereas the other two are more of a smaller, like resource type guide. And then community resources. So there is the Wellness Center at VC. Each student at VC is allocated a certain number of counseling sessions with Mr. Huang each year. So you can access that. There's also a link to the BC Registered Clinical Counselors website. There's a link to the Child and Youth Mental Health Clinics site there as well. As I said, the closest drop-in clinic to BC is in Kerrisdale. You do want to check the website though if you are interested in visiting there because they are only open certain hours. And then there's two programs offered in Vancouver, and space program might be also offered in surrounding areas. So the space program is supportive parenting for anxious childhood emotions. It is offered through Cornerstone Psychology in Vancouver. Again, also some other clinics in the area. That is a really great program for parents who have children who might be defiant, who may engage in really challenging behavior sometimes, property destruction, aggression, things like that, or children who are really difficult to parent. That would be a really good program to take. They do have intakes regularly for parents, and it varies depending on the number of weeks they offer each program to be. And then there's also the Failure to Launch program. Randy Patterson has some books and resources on his website, but you can also attend the Failure to Launch program as a parent. And finally, if you suspect that your child may be engaging in some school refusal, I am available for consultations at VC. VC will cover a 15-minute consultation with you, either occurring in person or on Zoom. I work at VC on Wednesdays from 10 until 1:30 p.m. If you suspect that your child is engaging in school refusal and you would like to reach out to me for a consultation, you can send me an email. Your email can be very brief. Ideally, provide your child's name, what grade they're in, maybe a quick blurb on what's going on. And it's on a first come, first serve basis that I can book these consultations with you. Ongoing support for school refusal may be provided, but we use a bit of a triage system where the most severe cases take priority. And of course, I need to have room on my caseload at VC as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out though if you would like to get a consultation during my time at VC. And we will have some time now for some questions.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. So folks, I just dropped a link in the chat to please answer the Slido questions. This helps us to just, evaluate how we did and helps us plan with future events. So if you could just take a couple of minutes as we're chatting or right after to do it. The code you could also put into your phone or your computer Slido. Go to Slido and put and code. So Slido, so just slido.com, and it's VC 101. As the school is turning 101 this year. So I'm just waiting for questions to come in. I'm just looking if there's any questions that not yet. However, there was few that were submitted before, so I'll start with those as we do have Elizabeth for a few more minutes. Could you tell us what consultation looks like?
Yeah, so if you book a consultation with me at VC, typically I will get some brief history from you about your child, if there's any suspected diagnoses of any sort. And then I will begin asking you a bunch of questions about what school refusal looks like, how often it's been occurring, Typically, I'll have your child's attendance record in front of me as well, so we can look at that together. Um, and then I will typically try to analyze a little bit more about what you've done already as parents and what has been successful and what has not been successful. And then provide some initial recommendations on things that might be able to support school reintegration for your child. Um, After that, depending on the needs of the child and my availability to take on more cases within the school, there are opportunities for further parent consultation, and in some cases, me being able to work with your child directly to support them with attending school again.
Great, thank you. I find it awkward to be on while you're talking, so I have to.
No worries.
I think this is pretty amazing that VC has that this opportunity for parents who do need access. Not every school does, so that's fantastic, and that's great to know that it's there. Another question for you. I'm wondering, and I'm not sure if the is there, if you guys can actually type the questions because there's no single question at all. So I'm just finding it a little weird. So let me just see. And I know Theo is in the background there. Uh, mhm. Okay, well, I'm gonna put the other question out and then see how if what's happening. In your experience with VC, Elizabeth, what are the most common signs that you've seen with school refusal?
So, with school refusal, a lot of the students that I've worked with have challenges with transitioning away from video games. That has been a really big one. So we've seen kids who will play video games all through the night, stay up all night, and then they can't come to school the next day because they haven't slept all night. Or kids who play video games with kids in other places of the world. And so they want to stay home during the day because that's when the other kids are online. And so they'll be missing school for that reason. So video games has been actually quite a large chunk of cases. Um, I've also seen where kids are trying to avoid attending extracurricular activities at school. So their parents have encouraged them to sign up for a certain sport, and kids are refusing to go to school because they don't want to attend practice or those kinds of things. Um, and then I've also seen another large chunk of kids who are dealing with some mental health issues. And those mental health issues have been left untreated for a really long time and have become significantly worse, especially children who experience anxiety. That eventually it does end up turning into school refusal. And then perhaps some depression involved as well there. When mental health um, is involved, it can be more challenging to treat school refusal because we're having to reintegrate kids and also treat some mental health issues. So um, that is also something that I've seen quite a bit of. Just going to answer the question that popped up here as well.
Oh, you can see it. Great, because I don't
Yes.
know where it went. Okay, great. Thank you.
The question was, how can you access the wellness class at BC? So if you click on the link in the slides that get sent out, or if you just Google Vancouver College Wellness Center, the Wellness Center website will pop up. If you wish to book counseling with Mr. Huang, the email address is on that VC website to be able to request that. Also on the website, there's lots of information about what the Wellness Center offers. There are lots of really great resources in the Wellness Center, books and things like that, handouts, pamphlets, and lots of really awesome people that are available to support students all the time.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions on the chat?
No, that is the
Okay,
only one.
I do have another one. What are the first steps that parents should take if they think there is a school refusal going on with their child?
So I think because all the parents here are from BC, I think your first step if you suspect school refusal would be to reach out to either myself or the wellness center as soon as possible so that we can assess what the challenge is for your child and intervene as quickly as possible. This year, we've been able to intervene very quickly on quite a few cases, and we've had success within a few weeks to a month for most kids. So those are kids that we were able to catch really, really early and provide some parent supports and supports at the school level. And we've had some really great successes. So um, early intervention is really, really key here.
Great. That's great news. I don't know how to unmute any of you guys. I don't know if there's any other questions. I'd just give people a minute or so. Um, well, I've certainly learned a lot. I didn't realize that this is supported through school, so that's great. And um, that parents can access it. And I think the most important thing is the intervention piece. If you suspect it, definitely
Hmm.
flag it for the resource center and reach out to Elizabeth, and she will be able to help you. I'm not surprised about the video games,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so
And I
that's
guess the other thing I should note too is that I'm a contractor at VC. I'm not on staff. So with the way that it works when you have consultation with me is consultation is covered by VC, but none of what we talk about is actually recorded in your child's record at the school. So it is a somewhat confidential conversation. So just know that as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You can speak to me openly about any challenges that your child is having, and there's no kind of like recourse on the school level for that.
that's very helpful. Are there any other questions? I don't, well, somebody did put something in the chat, right? So people can type. They're just, um, I think, no, that was, yeah, I don't see anything else. So let me just check. I know I see some people on the line that know me and they have my number. So text me if there's a problem because we are trying to figure out this Zoom thing. Nope, there's nothing. So, okay, sounds good. Well, thank you again, Elizabeth. I found it very useful and very, very interesting, and a few key takeaways as well. Spend 5 minutes with your kid, if anything. So just, I did put in I'll just put it up again. So for the evaluation survey, we will also be your slides. Are you okay to share them with me?
Yeah,
Elizabeth,
I will
yeah,
email them
so
to you now.
I
Yeah,
great, thank you. And then we'll figure out a way with Nicholas, our new communications officer, to share it with people, and then you can review it. And I think everybody has gotten Elizabeth's contact information. So again, thank you so much. We really appreciate it on behalf of VC and the parent committee as well. Just a couple of things, you guys. So our next talk is going to be on February 29th, and we'll focus on university preparation. And then we've got one more in April. So watch out for the updates in the newsletter, and I'll ask the class parents to update that as well. And I want to thank everybody for participating. I'll give it, maybe a few more seconds if there's any other questions. But I think people are pretty clear on what they need to do if they suspect it and whom they need to contact. And that we do have a great resource at the Wellness Center through Alex, who was a speaker earlier this year as well. So do reach out to him and take advantage. So with that, I think I will let everybody drop off. Elizabeth, if you want to stay on the line for a few minutes, and
sure.
everybody can have a great night. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.